guys, and welcome to another video by Twisted Dice. Today, as you can see from the title, I'm going to show you how to do pinstripe Tyranids. So this is something that I've become quite known for. I've been doing this for quite a long time, and it gives a really interesting finish that hopefully you can see on the screen in my custom hive fleet. But today, guys, I'm going to show you something a little bit different. I'm going to show you how you can use this technique and this style for any Tyranid hive fleet. So what we've got here for you is we have got the start of what will be a behemoth old one eye, and this particular model, guys, I am going to give away to one of our patrons. If you'd like to become a patron, hang on to the end of the video. I've got some more details for you there, but all the stuff and all the details are in the description below, so jump over now. And while you're watching this video, please do, if you like what you see, please give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up, let us know your thoughts, and hit that bell button to get up to date and keep up to date with all the cool videos coming out from Twisted Dice. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how you can use that pinstripe effect on any hive fleet. So as I said, we've got behemoth today, and we're going to use it on there. It's quite similar in some ways to my colour scheme, so it's quite easy for me to move straight into, but I will show you again at the end how you can use this on any hive fleet, any colorway. It works for anything. Just got to make sure you've got the right palette and you will be away. So that's what we're going to do, and let's see how we get on. So I'm going to start off with, obviously we've laid down our flesh, and that's what I would generally advise to do whenever you're tackling one of the big beasties. Get the flesh colour pretty much done, so based. We've got multiple colours of red here, and it's all highlighted with the airbrush. We can go in later and do some final brush highlighting work if we want to, but if we don't want to, we're good to go as it is, and we can concentrate on the carapace and all the pointy sharp bits. So today what I'm going to use, normally I would go a bit lighter on my colour scheme, but I still want this to be different, so I've gone for this scale 75 and I've gone for the deep blue, which gives me a really deep blue initial colour. And that's what you want to do. You always want to make sure that you start quite dark with this colour scheme, because the pinstripes are going to jump out. If you start too light, then it's going to look a little bit garish. You still want to have that kind of almost subtle, very crisp feel to it. So we're going to paint this away, and I will speed this up, guys, so you don't have to watch me just base coat the whole of the model. But again, as always, this paint's quite thick. The pigments are quite thick on it, so I've heavily watered this down, so I can do several coatings of this to keep it, make sure that it's really smooth. And all I'm doing is I'm going around and I'm just covering the whole of the model. I've got a bit of a hair there. Covering all of the carapace and making sure that it has a good coating of the deep sea blue. And yeah, just being really liberal, making sure I don't hit any of the red areas, because that's much harder for us to go in and correct later, because that's layers of airbrush work. But if it does, it's not the end of the world. We can go back in, polish that up later. But the key with this is making sure that it's really nice and smooth. Okay, so that's the first coat down, well, the first colour down. So as you can see, it's really dark blue, really like midnight. It's a beautiful colour, looks really strong, and gives us a great base to work with. So make sure that you've applied that colour, and it's a really good strong colour on there, because you're not going to return to that particular colour again. So just make sure you've got that really blocked in. It looks really crisp. So I've done that, and I've done that for all of his different parts as well. I've sub-assembled this to make it a bit easier for me to show you the painting process, but depending on how easy the model is to paint without, it's up to you. So I'm now going to come in with some Mediterranean blue, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix it about 3/4 Mediterranean blue to about 1/4 of the deep blue, just to tone it down a little bit, because I don't have, I think, quite the mid shade tone that I really want to make this work. So we're gonna really take it easy. Now with this, you want to make sure that it's a nice thin consistency. You don't want to be going too thick with it. You just need to make sure that it's flowing nicely, because now what you're going to do is you're going to start to layer the first pinstripes down. Now this, if anything, is the least important of the pinstripes, because this one's going to be quite faint at first, and it's going to be layered over by lots of other layers on top of it. So this one is going to be, you get away with it a little bit more. So yeah, so I'm just mixing up off camera what I think is the right color for it. It's, you know, it's personal preference really with this. You know, you just got to get it what you're happy with. And because we're starting with really quite a dark tone, just want to be careful that I'm not going too much. So we've got the tone that I'm happy with. And then at first, it takes a little bit of practice. You're starting off right in the crevice, and then all you're doing is you're bringing a straight line down. And you're doing that again, making sure that you're trying to keep them roughly sort of even in width, but because it's an organic kind of life form, it doesn't need to be exact. It really doesn't, because you're doing so many of these as well. If you have like one that's slightly out of place, it really doesn't matter. It's all about just getting the effect over all the different layers and over the whole of the shell. So again, I've got quite a steady hand. I didn't say I've got the steadiest hand, but I've done hundreds and hundreds of these throughout the years, so it's a little bit of muscle memory. But again, as I said, try not to worry too much with these first layers, because these are going to be, you're going to have at least another couple of layers on top of this. So even though at first when you apply this layer, it feels really stark, it feels like this is a huge highlight from what you've got down before, what you'll find is as it dries, and as you layer it up with additional colours, this colour will slowly but surely fade a little bit more into the background, and it's a little bit more of just it's giving you a starting point to highlight onto. So don't worry too much if these lines aren't absolutely perfect. Of course, the better you get them, the better that eventual finish will be, but really don't worry too much. Don't let it stress you out. So as you can see already, at first they look really quite stark, but now as I start to put them down almost as a layer, they're starting to merge in with the colour that we've already established down on there. So I'm going to carry on so you can see a few more before I speed it up a little bit and skip on to the next stage. But you can see, just very much working same process backwards and forwards. You'll be surprised how quickly you can get through the whole shells. It feels like a really monotonous process. It's actually quite therapeutic, and it's really not too bad to do once you get the hang of it. So that's all done now, so all the edges are done on it, and we've done that layer. So next we're now going to lift it up again. So I'm going to go a little bit brighter. For this, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to use a bit of a mix. I would advise, guys, when you're working on your colour schemes, that you keep to specific colours. If you start having to mix, you're much more likely to not be able to match the colour in the future. This is obviously for a giveaway, and I'm not doing BMF normally, so it doesn't matter. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do roughly about 50-50 mix of the Vallejo, that's right, Darren, Vallejo, of electric blue, and then I'm going to go as well with the Mediterranean blue. So we're going to mix those up, and that is going to make for our next layer of stripes. So let's get that out. So yeah, normally I would go quite a lot lighter than this for this particular stage, but again, I want this finish to be a little bit different from mine. So anyway, right, so again, what I'd always advise is start from something that's maybe not so noticeable, just to get your muscle memory, make sure you're happy with like your consistency. And with this, you don't necessarily need to cover every inch of the stripe that you've previously done. You're looking ideally to kind of miss just the start of it, and then go right up to the edge. And if it's slightly a bit thinner, that's fine. You can be the same consistency, so you can follow the exact thickness of the line, or you can go a little bit thinner, which is what you want to aim to be doing. You want to be going a little bit thinner, so even though it's you almost can't pick it out on camera or when you're looking, but what you will find is that the eye picks up that there is a slight blend of two colours there, and what that gives you is that will give you a little bit more of a textured layer, which means it doesn't look so stark and gives you a much nicer finish overall. Which, and again, this technique does take a little bit of practice, and you're not necessarily going to get it down first time, but you can see there already the clearness of that stripe. It starts to look just a little bit clearer, a little bit cleaner. Okay, so now just caught it off camera. Unfortunately, the video didn't play. Technical issues as always, but I've just added the next layer. So the next layer is going in with a glaze. Now I use Gilliman glaze for this particular one, which is the same as I use for mine. It's just a nice blue, rich glaze. It's not available from GW anymore, but if you're using it, you just have to find another blue glaze that works for you. And there are glazes that multiple different manufacturers make, so you shouldn't find it too difficult to get a glaze that matches your particular colour scheme. But the idea of that is that will bring those layers together, which will give you a really kind of clean finish, ready for the final stage. The only importance is just making sure that things are not pooling, so don't allow things to pool, particularly on the flat surfaces, because you'll get horrible smudge marks. Just keep moving it around until you're happy with it, and then you should get a nice finish. So we'll just wait for this to dry off. Once it's dry, we'll come back and we'll get on to the next couple of stages. Okay, so that's more or less dry now, which is cool. What I've also started to do is just started to do some of the black for the claws and stuff, because it's behemoth and they have like black claws. So now we're on to our final highlight. And for our final highlight, we're going to go in again with the electric blue. But this time we're not going to mix it down. So we're just going to go with a pure electric blue. And then all we're going to do this time, we are going to thin it down a little bit more than we have for the previous stages, because we want to try and make sure that we don't build up too much of a defined transition. We want to keep kind of the transitions blended from what we've just done with the wash. So all I'm going to do, we're still happy for it to be a bit of definition there, but all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go in, and now what I'm doing is I'm not necessarily going right up to the very top of the stripe. This time I'm starting sort of mid to 3/4 of the way up, and I'm just going over the top of them, and all I'm doing is kind of just highlighting them up a little bit. It's quite subtle because the colour is obviously very similar to what was already there, but what it just does is it just gives us a final like pop-in highlight. Which really stands out on the battlefield and will give you a really nice finish, just draws the eye. And then once I've finished going over everything in exactly that same way again, just giving that real defining that out, I will do the same again with all of the edges. So I'll go into all the edges and I'll highlight them up. So it's a bit thick there, but that's okay. We'll just work it in. Guys, that's all there is to it. He is now, from a pinstripe point of view, finished. We've done all the edge highlights on the side of the carapaces, so he really pops out now. Looks really cool. I've stuck in his claws and his talons so you can see what he'll look like when he's totally finished. Still obviously work to do on the model, but hopefully you like the end kind of finish. And as you can see, really simple to do, not particularly a difficult technique. Takes a little bit of practice to master, but as you can see, it gives you a really good cool effect for your models. So hopefully it's something that you've enjoyed and you've learned something. If you'd like to actually win this particular model, I will be giving it away to one of our Patreons at the end of June. All you have to do is register for our Patreon service. You can click on the link below, go over there, and as long as you register at the $5 and above, then after a month you will be registered as in this competition or this giveaway, and at the end of June I will be giving this guy away to one lucky Patreon member. But hopefully you've enjoyed this, guys, and thanks for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe, and until the next video, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.